Morning face. This is my morning face. I just got here to Florida for the first Eastern Open. Kind of got caught off guard. Practice actually starts, well, I wouldn't say practice actually starts, but the tournament actually starts a day earlier than it normally does. Typically, we start the tournament on a Thursday. But they called me and told me, yeah, dude, the tournament doesn't start on Thursday. The tournament starts on Wednesday. Now I got to get my boat loaded and try to get out there and find a fish. So I got some really cool electronics this year. I'm running Garmin units this year, and let me show you something that's pretty cool about the way that you put them on the boat. Like the way you actually bracket these units to my boat is so slick. There's one connect bracket right here. I say one connect. I don't know what it's called, but all I know is it's pretty daggum clean. Watch this. One snap connect. I'm gonna set my unit right here on the graph, put it in, and then actually buckle this in the back. Just snap it down like this. Dude, and my whole graph is connected. All the wires are ready, and it's ready to be powered on. Just like that. Like it's on. That's it. One snap. Finally getting the box up. All of these Plano Edge boxes that you saw me do in the shop video. Every last one of my top water baits. All the rattle traps. Chatter baits, dude. Jig heads. All my terminal stuff for Texas rigs. Jigs. Swim jigs. Square bill crankbaits. Spinner baits. Here's Plano storage bin number 2, full of just soft plastics. Just fold this back. Like that. And fold the other side back, and then just flip it over. So you see how that can make your life a lot easier right there? It's like these little bins, like little cardboard bin, like it's like these little bins of your soft plastics in your tackle locker. Let's say, for instance, when I decide to go to Lake Cherokee for the next Bassmaster Open, all I have to do is, obviously, I'm probably not going to be throwing a Big Easy when we go down to Cherokee. I take that bag, zip it up, set it on the shelf in my shop, and then I put in like all of my bang sticks and hula sticks or whatever else. Here's the thing. The format's a little different in the Bassmaster Opens. For one, there is an unlimited practice. There's a lot of other things we'll talk about, like, you know, there's a co-angler, for instance. There's 4 tournaments. The tournaments are 3 days instead of 4 like it was in the FLW tour. There's 2 days full competition, and then on the 3rd day they cut to the top 12. So this is what I want to talk about. How much practice is actually enough practice for a big tournament like this? Now, obviously, this is not a tour level competition, but in my mind, this is still a big tournament. There's going to be 225 boats competing, for 1, to get to Elite Series bid, 2, to make the Bassmaster Classic, and 3, just to win the daggum tournament in general. How much practice is enough practice, and how much practice is too much practice? I want to talk about practice. We're talking about practice, bro. The Allen Iverson version of practice. So this is the pond I got to try to figure out for the next 3 days right here. Well, it's actually 2.5 days. So the question is, can I actually do it? Can I figure this place out in 2.5 days? You know, I've been here before. Sure, it's kind of windy today. I've been here before, but the truth is, I kind of don't really know it. I'm fishing the Kissimmee chain of lakes this week. And the Kissimmee chain consists of Toho, Kissimmee, Cypress, and Hasnahaw. At least that's where we're able to fish. And there's a little small lake called Tiger Lake. And somewhere in those 4 or 5 lakes, I've got to figure out how to catch a winning 5 bass limit over the course of 3 days. So let's look at this lake. This is Toho right here. You see where my little boat is right there? Well, that's a big lake. It may not look that big on the map, but trust me, that is a lot of water. I really only need to practice for 2.5 days, and I'm going to tell you why. Not exactly what I had in mind when I came out here to practice. A lot of teeth. His dentist appointments are pretty expensive, I can imagine. Wrong kind. The whole purpose of what I'm doing out here is to qualify for the Elite Series. Well, when you think about practicing, of course, to get there, you want to put your best foot forward. But in my opinion, the best thing you can do when you're fishing to qualify for the Opens is to make the scenario the most like the Elite Series that you can. When you get to the Elite Series, there's not going to be a 7 or 8 day practice. You really have 2.5 days. They call it 3 days, but on that 3rd day of practice is registration. So in my opinion, to get out here and practice 7 or 8 days, you're really kind of beating yourself up. Thought I had a bite there. You're really kind of working against yourself if you try to do that. The best thing you can kind of do is create a scenario exactly like the Elite Series. That means put your best foot forward. There he is. Oh, false alarm. The best thing to do is put your best foot forward for 2.5 days, because when you get to the Elite Series, that's exactly what you're going to have to do. That spot wasn't so good. Can I find what I need in 2.5 days of practice? Let's talk about this for a little bit. With practice, one thing that I have learned in the last 3 years, more practice isn't always better. Of course you need to practice at home. Of course you need to hone your skills in between the tournaments, and you need to be on the waters as much as possible. But when it comes to tournament fishing, geez, I hate fishing around these airboats. Hopefully you can hear me. When it comes to tournament fishing, more practice isn't always better. You need good practice. That daggum airboat. Florida would be so much better without airboats. But you need good practice. Like, you need efficient, good practice. Hopefully throughout your fishing at home and fishing your tournaments at home, hopefully you've started to develop some skills that you really have confidence in. If you're good at throwing a shaky head, you're good at cranking, you're good at throwing a spinnerbait, you're good at finding fish offshore. Hopefully in those tournaments you're starting to develop some skills that you really have confidence in, and that is absolutely the most important thing that you can do as a tournament fisherman. But I've learned some things. One is, it doesn't take a giant amount of water to make even a 4-day tournament. It doesn't really take that much water to make your week. You don't really need to figure out, like, I'm fishing 4 or 5 lakes this week, or have access to those. I actually don't have to find or figure out all 5 of those lakes. I made the cut here in 2019, and I literally fished 2 spots the entire week. So it doesn't take a whole lot of water in order to make your tournament work out and then be able to catch fish. What that does is that calms me down. It lets me break down the lake. I know what things I'm good at. I'm not really good at finding fish in offshore grass, so I don't waste a whole bunch of time trying to fish offshore grass. I know what my strengths are, so I go straight for that. I ride around until I find those specific types of water, and that's where I fish at. that does a couple things. I eliminate water really fast now. So 2.5 days, honestly, by the time you get to that third day, you're ready for the tournament to start. You know whether you're going to catch them or if you're just going to struggle and you're ready to move on to the next event. So having a shorter practice has really been a blessing. It's less stressful. If I don't find them in 3 days, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm probably not going to find any fish. Dude, I really like areas like this. You see there's like these little isolated pads, groups of pads. There's some Kissimmee grass mixed in, and there's hydrilla and milfoil that you can't really see under the water. Everything that a bass needs to live here. I've literally made an entire week, 4-day event, fishing in an area as small as this, just right in here. You can see there's a lot of little elements that you can fish. You see this island, I could punch this, I could throw my wacky rig around the edge of it. I can fish a prop bait, I can get out here in the middle. You can't see it, but you see like there's that huge clump of grass right there. A lot of different options that I can fish, because sometimes weather changes over a 4-day period and there's a lot of different things that I can do right here in literally a 2 or 3 acre little area. That's not a lot of water, and especially if I don't have to share it, this is plenty of water to spend 3 or 4 days. So with that being said, you don't have to figure out the entire lake. You don't have to figure out Cypress, Hatchinahaw, Kissimmee, Toho, and all the canals and rivers. You don't have to see all of that water. If you know what you're really good at, you really don't have to fish just a few areas and fish that water. And once you know what your strengths are, you're going to really start covering water a lot faster, and you're going to start to hone in, and you're going to start to find fish a lot quicker. Daylight to dark, that's what it takes. Daylight to dark. 3 days daylight to dark, I promise you can find something. Another thing that's really important is to kind of realize when you're starting to get tired out there. If you're fishing a lot, you're not getting bit. Sometimes for me, it's a lot more productive to come off the water or take a break. Sometimes I'll just take a break, retie everything, or maybe I'll just go see another part of the lake that I haven't seen all week. Sometimes you just got to hit that reset button. You hit that reset button, where that means changing a bunch of lures on your rods. That means changing line. Maybe that means pulling off, taking a break. Sometimes that means just sitting down and eating a sandwich and talking to your dog, wife, girlfriend, your kids, whatever it is. Give them a call, take a break, and you'll be surprised. A productive hour or 2 hours of practice can be a lot more beneficial in times than 8 days of practice. I promise you that. I know that from experience. Alright, so I'm going to give you a couple of tips. Yes, it's dark and I'm in my truck, but I wanted to finish this video before I went in tonight. A couple of tips on making your practice a lot more efficient. I know it's very tempting for you guys that are just starting to fish a little bit bigger tournaments. You got a lot invested in these tournaments and you're starting to spend a lot more money in your fishing, so you want to make the best of it and practice longer. Let me tell you guys, do more practicing at home. Do more practicing right here with your mind. Things that you can do that I think that's going to help you. Map study at home, Google Maps, paper maps, study your graph, look at YouTube, look at some of the prior tournaments there to get a good idea of which areas are going to be productive for the time of the year where you're going to be there. Number 2, make sure that you start to develop some skills at home that you're very confident in. If that's just throwing a shaky head, get really throwing a shaky head. If that's throwing a crankbait, get really good at that. And find different scenarios where that one bait you can use in a bunch of different scenarios. If it's windy, if it's cold, if it's hot, if it's low, if it's flooded, start getting really good with using that bait or that technique, whether that be fishing deep, whether that be fishing shallow, if that's in between, maybe it's a specific lure. Any of all of that, learn how to do that really good. That's really going to help you eliminate water, because the water that doesn't suit that style of fishing, you don't worry about it. And then all of a sudden 5 lakes gets really small very fast when you start to only count on what you really know how to do. All right, so I hope these tips help you out in your practice, man. Listen, don't have a long drawn out practice. You're really just gonna beat yourself across the head. The more you practice, sometimes it's very counterproductive. You start to get negative, especially when you're not catching fish, and that really doesn't help you. You don't need a lot of water to fish a tournament. Always remember that. So I'm gonna try to apply that this week, and hopefully I'll come out of here with a big check. Make sure you stay tuned for the next video.